Hi, friends. All right. I'm Mariah. I'm your host for the 2025 Stash Challenge, and welcome to my vlog. Thank you for watching. We are done with June, and if you are in my neck of the woods in the Northern Hemisphere in the United States, specifically Eastern Pennsylvania, it's hot. It's been really hot. But we've made it through June. We're working through some more stash. So hopefully that's good. Hopefully our yarn is keeping us sane, keeping the dark thoughts away. I know that's what I'm using it for. So we're just going to jump right into things here. I have an exciting announcement to make at not the full end, because the end is where I show you the scoreboards for the stash challenge. But right before that, I've got an announcement to make, and I'm very excited. So stay tuned or skip ahead, your choice. So last time we talked about, I mentioned a challenge that I thought of trying, and that was the pattern stash challenge. And this challenge was kind of to get you to shop through your stash, which I did do, and you got to see some of that. So I did mention last time that the pattern I picked was the Weekender Cami by Aimee Sher. And I did pick out some yarn, and I do have just a swatch, although it's a pretty substantial swatch. So that the yarn that I picked ended up being the Phila Fiber Co. This is not that one. This is the Wild Cactus Flower. So you saw this at the end of the vlog. This is the colorway dyed by Phila Fiber Co. for last year's, for 2024's Greater Philadelphia Yarn Crawl. This yarn was sold at Wild Hand during the yarn crawl, and I do love Phila Fiber Co.'s work. And I was working the yarn crawl, but at the shop that I work at Purls of Wisdom in Phoenixville. So I rushed one morning before going to work to get this yarn at Wild Hand. I was very excited about it. I did have a plan for it at the time, but I didn't do it. And looking through all of my yarn and seeing this, I just thought, you know what, this is going to work. It's really beautiful. I'm very excited about it. I was a little hesitant because the Weekend Cami by Aimee Sher, the sample is in solids, and I was very attracted to it. I wasn't necessarily thinking of a variegated, so I guess I hadn't thought of this in my head. But then when I started looking at it, I was also looking for a yarn that met some of the suggestions that Aimee made for the Cami, not being 100% wool. And this really was the only one that I could find in my stash that at least had, this has 90% superwash merino and a 10% linen. So I'm hoping that that makes a more summery type tank. But so far, all I've done is swatch, which is important and you should do. And I do like to swatch, but I'm going to show you this, and I don't want anyone to be upset or to think less of me or of themselves, whichever way. This is just my process. I find I teach a lot. So I teach swatching. I teach how to pick out the right sizes. I teach problem solving, all this stuff. So the more swatching I do, the better. And the more I learn, which helps me as a teacher. So I guess it kind of is, it has a second purpose for me as well. I'm going to show you the swatch, but please don't panic. However you swatch is totally fine. and it hasn't been blacked yet, but here is my swatch. So this pattern does ask for swatching flat. So down here at the bottom, I have my swatch flat, and then up top, it's in the round. And it's very long because I do have trouble getting gauge. I am a tight knitter, and now that I English style and continental style, I like to play around with both of those styles. My continental style tends to be looser. My English style tends to be tighter. And it's interesting because I have to English style when I'm knitting flat because my continental purls are just so loose that I get a lot of gapping in between the rows. So my flat section is done English style, but I wanted to try 2 different needle sizes. I have a US 3 and a US 4. So that's why those 2 are there. And then I've continued in the round, English style with a 3, English style, or no, continental style with a 3, English style with a 3. And I still wasn't real happy with the fabric I was getting because Aimee also says you should use a yarn that isn't see-through when it gets stretched a little bit because it's supposed to not have as much positive ease. So I wasn't happy with how my fabric was looking. So now I'm English style knitting on a US 3, where previously I was continental style knitting. Anyway, again, don't freak out. It's mindless knitting, and eventually I will cast on that cami because I am very much enjoying the fabric. I'm very much enjoying this colorway. I think it's going to look good on me. And now I'm very excited about this variegated. So there's that. And I guess for me, June has been the month of just casting on. I was tired of trying to finish all of the things that I started, and I have finished quite a few things. And I'm very proud of myself. So I suppose June has been, as a reward to me, as a special treat. I just get to cast on whatever I want this month. So I've started that. You have also seen my other cast on is a sock. And this is going to be it is now, but it's a folded cuff sock. And this is actually a pattern that I'm writing. So I casted this on, as you saw, mostly because Worldwide Knit and Public Day was happening, and I like, when I go out to public events like that, I just like to have a sock. And I didn't have just a plain sock on the needles. So I was like, I'm going to cast this on. Now I'm also teaching at Purls of Wisdom. I'm teaching my summer sock club. So for the 3 months of summer, we meet twice a month, and I try to teach a bunch of people how to knit socks and kind of addressing whatever problems that they have. But I like to sort of have a plan. So it's a very kind of open-ended class, like come whatever level you're at, whatever sock you're knitting, whatever questions you have. But for this class, I wanted to, this is my second year doing it. So I had a pattern last year. So this year I was like, I think that I should keep doing that. So I'm writing this pattern. They're actually my test knitters. And I've decided to do a folded cuff sock because I haven't done one before and it looks really cool. So I'm very excited for how my folded cuff turned out. I'm very proud of that. And it's going to have an afterthought heel. So this is, while I was knitting these socks and writing the pattern and thinking about the class, I just kept singing head, shoulders, heels and toes, because this summer's focus is on heels and toes. And I wanted them to do an afterthought heel, and I'm going to show different toe options. So that's the name of the pattern: head, shoulders, heels and toes socks. I thought the name was kind of long, but it's just what I keep hearing in my head. So that's what's happening. So this yarn actually is not stash yarn though. So it's okay if you're participating in the stash challenge and you decide to cast on something that's not stash yarn. So this is, as you saw in the video, it's Lilac and Vine. This is Purls of Wisdom's special colorway for the 2025 Greater Philadelphia Yarn Crawl. So I had bought this. I was very excited to buy this year from the Yarn Crawl. Luckily, I didn't have to rush to any stores because I was working at Purls of Wisdom, and I'm very excited about these socks. So that I cast it on, and this has just been my go-to. It's in my bag. I take it everywhere I go, and as you saw in the video, I took it to all sorts of places with me on Worldwide Knit in Public Day, which turned out to be a very busy day. There was a lot that went on that day. So I'm happy to have a sock on the needle. And other things that you might see happen because of this sock is I will be recording a tutorial on how to do the afterthought heel, how to do that folded cuff, and whatever videos pretty much my students end up needing. That's kind of what motivates me to make any tutorial videos for my YouTube channel is what my students end up needing at the time. So that's the plan there. So again, it's just been my month to cast things on. I have two more projects that I casted on. You also saw some more of Phila Fiber Co's yarn. I had pulled some of this out. This is a DK weight. This is her DK weight. This is the colorway Radiance. I'm really excited about this one. It is superwash, but it's the blue face Leicester, and it just feels really great. It's got a good feel to it. I like yarns that have a slightly more rustic feel to it. I do like non-superwash, so I'm impressed that this is a superwash. It doesn't feel like a superwash. So I'm excited. I just like the kind of, it's just got this sturdy feel to it. So I have started working on the Harvest cardigan by Tin Can Knits. And this is for a class that for a student that I'm teaching who needs help with working through a pattern. They want to make their first garment. So sometimes when I'm teaching, it's easier. Just reading the pattern isn't always helpful for me to teach. So I'll be like, well, I'm going to cast this on. So I know exactly what's going on because I'm doing it as well. But I'm cheating because I'm going to make this for she is 2 now. By the time I finish it, she'll be 3 or 4. So that one's going faster for me because it's a smaller size. And then the other thing that I cast on, I don't know what happened. I just pulled it out. I had yarn set aside for this pattern for years. I actually had already swatched, and I was just like, you know what, I'm just going to cast on. The pattern is the Rays of Sun Tea, and this pattern is found through Neutrino, which is a really cool app that I really, really love. So I highly recommend that you check it out, and I'll have a link in the description box. But I've had this one planned, and this t-shirt is one that I think I want to finish in time for Rhinebeck. So that's what kind of motivated me to, you should probably get that started so you're not rushing to the very end. And I'm also, this is stash yarn. I'm using, this is Magpie's Nest Sport, which I don't even think that they have anymore. This is a non-superwash Corriedale. And again, I really like the feel of this stuff. It's going to be a really sturdy garment. And the color is called Twilight Days. And it is a very beautiful, kind of moody, I'm terrible with colors, like a moody blue, a tealy blue, like a dark tealy blue. So I have casted that on. Yeah, so it's the month of cast-ons for me. So that's just the way it's going to be. So I feel pretty good about that. Okay, so we're getting through this. That's what I wanted to talk about as far as what I'm working on. But now it's time for my big announcement. It's not really my announcement. but it's happening in my Discord, and I'm very excited. We have a new make along happening. This is going to be a Shark Week make along, and this is a make along dreamed up by Shell from Sassafras Knits and from Val of Sunrise Fiber Co. So they wanted to host it in my Discord. You may have seen stuff posted on Instagram. It's I love this. I love this because I didn't come up with it, and I love these ideas. I love how creative people can be. So starting July 20th, which is when Shark Week starts, through August 20th, we're going to be doing this make along. So some fun things about it. They have worked, they picked the pattern. It's called Packed Like Sardines. It's a sock pattern. It's by Charlotte Stone at Stone Knits. So I'm very excited about that because I've been wanting to knit one of her patterns. Her socks are really cute. So they're coordinating. There's going to be prizes, there's discounts, but you got to come to the Discord and to see any of that. They also are doing, so Shell has done her thing and created another really awesome stitch marker. It's a shark stitch marker, of course. And then Val has also done her amazing thing and knitted up. She's gonna knit it up. Dyed up some really gorgeous looking yarn with this. I don't like. I don't want to say murky like it's not nice, but like a murky blue, like a very sharky murky blue. That looks really awesome with some nice cream color yarn that as a contrast color. That's going to work great for these socks. So we're going to have some fun in the Discord during Shark Week, during this make along. You don't have to make socks. You don't have to make these socks. You don't even have to necessarily you can just come and have some fun. Hopefully some shark themed fun. But we're all going to be working on some sort of shark adjacent thing and have some fun with that. So that was my big announcement that I wanted to share with you. There's a link to the Discord in the description box, so it would be wonderful if you could join us there in the Make Along channel. And yeah, so that's in, I guess that's a couple of weeks that we will be officially starting. But if you want to get your yarn, you want to get the stitch markers, you want to go ahead and do that now. They got to get those shipped out to you in time so you can start on the 20th. So I think I saw, at least for the yarn, you want to, maybe that was for the stitch markers as well. You want to get those ordered before July 12th so they can get shipped to you and get to you on time. All right. And then, without further ado, the stash challenge. So we made it through June, and still the numbers are going down. Not here to sound like a CEO. We're not going to talk about what we can do to get everyone to knit more. It's just interesting. I find this fascinating to kind of see the trends. I will say trend-wise, I know from last year, people kind of stopped participating in the challenge as time went on. So there's also that extra motivation to keep going with the challenge. And it's okay. It's not a big deal. It's everyone's journey. For those of you that are hanging in there, that's very exciting. So let's see. Let's put up first, we'll have the infograph. So you can see in the chart at the top that our numbers are down. They're trending in the downwards direction. I'm curious to see what happens when it is no longer warm and see how those numbers look. So for the month of June, we're up to 136,386 grams of yarn. That is about 300 pounds of yarn. And then for our yards, we have 292,000 958 yards, which is about 166 miles of yarn collectively. So well done, everybody. And for our heavyweight lifters, our top 10 heavyweight lifters. And I just wanted to note, I have been keeping track, and so far it looks like Anna R. and Gabrielle are the only two top 10 heavyweight lifters who have stayed on the scoreboard for all 6 months now. So congratulations to you two. That's quite impressive. And then for our long distance runners, top 10 scoreboard. And we have 3 people who have managed to stay on the scoreboard for the whole 6 months so far. That's Angela B, Anna R again, so they're on both, and then Lauren J. So congratulations to our top 10 heavyweight lifters and long distance runners, and congratulations to everybody who's been participating. We actually got a new participant the other day, so it's still not too late to join. You may not make it on the top 10 list. Don't worry, I won't either. And I've been doing this since January. But I hope we're still having a lot of fun. We're getting through our stash. Hopefully, if you would like to give the pattern stash challenge a try, you just pick a pattern that's already in your stash, already in a book you already have purchased on Ravelry, already in your library, whatever you want to do. Grab a pattern and then go stash diving, see if you can find some yarn for that pattern. And I also really hope that you will join us for the Shark Make Along. I think we're going to have a lot of fun. Okay, so that's it for now. I will see you all next month.